I still remember the morning I woke before sunrise, my small room bathed in the pale light of dawn. My heart throbbed with both excitement and fear. Today was the day I would leave my home, my parents' warm smiles, and the only life I had ever known. I had dreamed of this moment for years, but as I sat on my suitcase on the creaky wooden floor, doubt whispered in my ear. What if I failed? What if I had made the wrong choice? Yet, deep inside me, a quiet voice grew louder. If I did not try, I would always wonder, what if? My home was a small village by the river where every face was familiar and every road had a story. My parents had worked hard to build a humble house of brick and wood. In the evenings, we would sit together under an old banyan tree, sharing simple meals of rice and vegetables. My mother's voice would calm my restless mind, and my father's gentle laughter reminded me I was loved. Yet I yearned for more than the boundaries of our village could offer. I wanted to learn new things, meet people whose names I did not know, and prove to myself that I could stand on my own feet. Ever since I was a child, I had carried a small book of poems wherever I went. I would read the verses under the shade of mango trees, imagining the faraway cities and the dazzling lights described by the poets. In my mind, I pictured myself standing on a big stage reciting lines that would move an audience. But there were no theaters in my village, no crowds to hear my voice, only the bats that flew overhead as I walked home from school. Yet each night, under the dim glow of a single bulb, I practiced aloud, shaping my voice like a sculptor shapes clay. When I turned 18, a letter arrived from a theater academy in the city offering me a small scholarship. My heart soared as I unfolded the crisp paper, but then it sank at the thought of telling my parents. They had no money to send me away. My father's business barely covered our daily needs, and my mother worried over every rupee spent. I kept the letter hidden for days, practicing what I would say. Finally, I summoned courage and showed it to them. My mother's eyes filled with tears, and my father frowned as if the words hurt him. "You are our only child," he said softly. "This land is your home. Why leave it?" I explained my dream, my voice trembling. I promised I would work hard and send money home. After long silences, they agreed, my mother by squeezing my hand, my father by nodding slowly. They had given me the greatest gift, their blessing. Packing my life into 2 suitcases was harder than I thought. I folded my shirts and my notebooks, wrapped my favorite pen in a handkerchief, and tucked the letter of acceptance in the inside pocket. My mother pressed a small packet of homemade sweets into my hand. "For strength," she said. My father adjusted my bag strap and ruffled my hair. "Remember who you are," he said. In that moment, the world felt both immense and kind, as if their love would travel with me wherever I went. The bus ride to the city took 8 hours. As the green fields turned into dusty towns and the narrow roads widened into highways, my heart pounded. I felt small and fragile among the crowded seats. When we reached the city bus station, I stepped off into a sea of people I could not name. Tall buildings blocked the sky, and car horns pierced the air. I held my suitcase tightly, my knuckles white. But a thrill of possibility stirred inside me. This was the place I had dreamed of, the place where I would find my voice. My first weeks in the city were a blur of new sights and harsh realities. The Academy building was vast, its walls lined with photographs of famous actors and actresses. I sat in classrooms filled with students who seemed to belong here, their accents smooth, their clothes sleek. I felt like an imposter. To pay for my food and small rent, I worked evenings at a tea stall near the academy. I served cups of hot chai, my legs aching from standing, my hands stained from tea leaves. Often I arrived late to class, my uniform crisp on the outside, but my heart heavy with fatigue. Still, I refused to give up. Every morning before the academy opened, I would stand in front of a tall mirror in my tiny room. I practiced projection and emotion, imagining I spoke to thousands of eyes rather than the peeling wall in front of me. I learned to control my breath and to feel the words in my chest. In class, I dared to volunteer for small roles even when my voice shook. I watched my classmates closely, learning from their gestures and timing, and when the teacher praised me, my heart swelled with pride. But for every high, there was a low. One night, after a long day of work and practice, I missed my bus and walked the dark streets alone. My bag felt heavier than I had ever felt. I doubted every choice. A single tear slid down my cheek as I imagined returning home, admitting defeat. Yet I remembered my mother's sweets and my father's words. I whispered to myself, I am here for a reason. I picked up my pace and made it home, greeting the rising sun with a tired smile. Months passed, and small successes cheered me on. I won a part in a short play at the academy, a tiny role, but a chance to stand under real stage lights. My performance earned me applause, and my classmates patted my back. The tea stall owner offered me extra hours, saying he admired my determination. My stomach, once hollow from hunger, now had more steady dinners. Still, I felt the ache of homesickness each night. I video called my parents, their faces bright on the screen. My mother fussed over my meals. My father joked about my city adventures. Their voices reminded me why I had come, not to escape home, but to grow. The real turning point came when a director from a well-known theater company visited our academy. He held auditions for a new production, seeking fresh faces. I stood in line with hundreds of others, my heart hammering as my name was called. On stage, I delivered a monologue I had polished for months. My hands did not shake, my voice did not quiver. When I finished, the director nodded and moved on to the next actor. I left the stage unsure, my stomach churning. Days later, a letter arrived. I had been selected for a supporting role in the company's next show. It was not the lead, but it was real theater. Opening night was a swirl of lights, costumes, and music. Backstage, I heard the hushed buzz of the audience settling in. My heart pounded like a drum. When I stepped into the spotlight, the stage felt like home. I spoke each line as if I had lived it, each emotion raw and honest. At the end, the applause came in waves. I bowed, tears catching in my eyes. In that moment, I felt my parents' pride, the long nights of practice, the dusty seats of the bus, a journey that began with a simple dream. Word of my performance spread. I received offers for small parts in other plays, then in short films. I learned the craft of camera angles and close-up shots, my voice adapting from stage projection to the subtleties of film. I saved every rupee I earned, sending some back home. My parents' letters began to arrive stuffed with newspapers of my reviews, cut-out articles that mentioned my name. Each word in their handwriting reminded me of where I came from and why I kept going. Years later, I stood on a bigger stage in a sold-out theater, my name in lights. The road had not been easy. Late-night doubts, empty pockets, aching feet. Yet each challenge had shaped me, teaching me resilience and humility. I thought of the young girl under the mango tree, the child who carried a book of poems and dared to dream of distant lights. I was that child, still learning, still growing, still reaching. Now, when I speak about my journey to young people, I tell them this: leaving home is not about turning your back on those you love. It is about honoring their belief in you by forging your own path. It is about discovering who you are when no one else is watching. It is about learning to stand tall even when the wind tries to knock you down. Home is where your story began, but your wings can carry you far beyond. If you feel the pull of a dream, listen to it. It may whisper at first, then surge with a roar. It will ask you to step into the unknown, to risk comfort for possibility. That risk can be terrifying, but it can also be the most rewarding choice you ever make. You will stumble, you will doubt, you will sometimes want to turn back. But each struggle will teach you more about your strength than any safe harbor. And one day, you will look back with gratitude at the road that tested you and the people who cheered for you. So pack your hopes in a small suitcase. Carry your family's love in your heart. Walk out the door with your head held high. The world will feel both vast and inviting, and every step you take will bring you closer to the person you are meant to become. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That step is yours to take today. Believe in yourself and never forget where you started, even as you soar toward the sky.